Strict professor wants me to prove that I'm trying to improve my grades? I'll give her just that. When I was a freshman in college, I had a maths teacher who was very strict about how she taught and how she expected us to learn. For example, she would force students to take notes, and if they didn't, she would make them leave. During our midterm exam, someone asked how much time was left and she said 5 minutes. At this point I was only about halfway done with the test. So I rushed and finished it barely in time. Me and most other students delivered the test and left the room. When I checked my phone, I realized there was another 20 minutes left. The students who hadn't finished in time told me that after we left, she realized that she read the clock wrong, and gave them another 20 minutes that me and the others didn't have. I've always been pretty good at math. But obviously, after rushing half the test, I didn't get a good grade. The part 1 didn't rush was perfect though. The next class, after showing us our results, she said that we needed to develop a strategy to improve our grades. She said that if we created a plan, stuck to it, and provided evidence of us doing it, she would give us some extra credit. What she expected us to do was say something like, "I'll practice every week, and submit pictures of us doing it as evidence," or something like that. Now, while I didn't blame her for reading the clock wrong, I did blame the fact that I thought I only had 5 minutes left for not doing well on that test. I was confident that I could have gotten a perfect grade on it if I had the extra 20 minutes. And so, what I said I would do is, bring a watch to the next exam. Was it an arrogant thing to say? Yes. But I also thought it was stupid to follow along with her plan to micromanage our studies. She got mad at me and said that if I didn't do anything else I would fail the final for sure. But I assured her that the watch was enough for me to do better. A few months later, on the day of the final, I submitted a picture of a watch on my wrist as my evidence for sticking with the strategy. I got a perfect grade on the final. Since my strategy for improving my grades worked, she had to give me extra credit. Not before arguing that I didn't deserve it. Of course. In every classroom I have ever been in, there was a clock on the wall that all could see, so teachers could begin and end classes on time. Is that not a thing anymore? I always show the university-wide official clock on the projector so the students are always on the same page. Good, you did that. Everybody who didn't get that extra 20 minutes should have done the same. You're good. Would have been talking right to the department chair. What an entitled teacher. Couldn't admit her mistake and give you extra time to finish the exam. Instead wants to gaslight you into thinking you needed to take on additional study efforts because of a grading that was directly affected by her mismanagement. She was too proud to take responsibility. It's an utter embarrassment that a maths teacher can't read a clock. I don't understand where the "take notes or leave" comes from. You're the customer. If you're not distracting others, she has no right to deny you what you've paid for. Holy shit, that power trip. My maths and English teachers were cool, but my global history teacher was the one that fucked us all the most. Fuck you, Mr. Ivan. I would have taken her ass to the dean. That is totally unacceptable to change the time on the test after you leave the room. I had a professor in college accuse me of cheating on a project before any work was done. I went into his office to ask for clarification on the project the day it was assigned. He didn't like me and said something to the effect that I need to prove I wasn't cheating on the project. Yeah, that didn't end well for him. Self-important busybody professors were the worst. Why leave before she called time's up? I understand rushing to get something down but then go back and work until she calls time. You should escalate this. It's not fair for your grade to be compromised because of her mistake. Email the dean. So the math teacher can't read a clock. You should have brought a digital watch and given it to her at the end. Just trying to help the class for next semester. Why is it always English and math teachers? And of course the school always turns a blind eye to bitches like this. Happens all across the world. I'm sorry about this. It worked for you because you were a talented and determined student. But that's not how it should work. There is no place for a teacher's ego in the classroom. Just here to mention that maths classes where you have to take notes are super inefficient. It is difficult enough to understand proofs of their own, and getting them explained by the professor makes it so much easier. Why can't they just upload the stuff and we cannot waste our time copying stuff that we don't understand because we are copying it and not listening? If we could just understand a lot in class and not even have it copied. It is also not like you learn a math formula or how a proof works from copying, because a few symbols contain way more information than, let's say, the same amount of vocabs. Oh, academia. How I don't miss you. Oh man, I hated taking notes in uni. Fortunately, I didn't need to do it much. I did really well if I could annotate either my textbook or a copy of notes, slides. And for me that was great for reviewing. But whenever the format meant that I needed to be scribbling down stuff from the whiteboard, I could either listen and understand, but get nothing to review, or focus on writing without retaining anything at all. Unsurprisingly, the second strat was about half as useful as the instructor giving us a printout and telling us to read it. It was a relief when we were allowed to just snap a picture before it was erased. Though, I think some educators somehow just don't understand that people learn differently. My first year was a minefield trying to work out what strategies actually worked for me. And it sucks to have the teacher try to stop you from using them. If a professor offered me that bump, as long as your grade doesn't go down enough to cancel out the extra credit. If they give you that bump, then you've satisfied the terms of the contract. Since your grade is now technically higher, my grade is higher. So the extra credit you gave me was warranted. The only thing to do now is to find a way into that loop. Some professors really shouldn't teach. Had this one guy for linear algebra that would constantly ask students broad, unhelpful questions just to make fun of their answers. Also just generally confused students in a class most of my peers called black magic. He was a terrible teacher who had a representative among other professors. My real analysis professor once went on a rant about the LA professor. I don't usually like to be that guy who is always correcting the professor, but I did it each and every time he fucked up. Dude did not like me. But I still work at that uni. And he's been fired from tenure. So that's fun. Can you be my math tutor, lol?
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.